Hello, everyone, and welcome to this on-demand session. My name is Jasmine DeSilva. I'm the Business Development Manager for Risk and Insurance Solutions at the BDA. I'm so glad you decided to come and join us today at this year's Tech Summit. The theme of this year's Tech Summit is digital transformation, and we're spending 3 days discussing all of the ways that businesses and industries have experienced accelerated digital transformation as a result of COVID-19. Today, I have joining me Atanu Basu. He is the CEO and President of Ayata, and John Hele. He is the COO and President of Resolution Life Group. Hello, Atanu and John, how are you?
Glad to be here.
Hello.
Yes, lovely to have you. By way of introduction, Atanu has over 15 years of experience in artificial intelligence. He has spent his career conceptualizing, developing, deploying, and supporting new technology products. Ayata, which means future, makes software that helps companies make smarter decisions about the future. Ayata software predicts what's ahead and prescribes how to improve this predicted future without disrupting other priorities. Ayata's customers include several Fortune Global 100 corporations in insurance, energy, and high tech. John Hele is the COO and President of Resolution Life Group. He has over 40 years of experience in the insurance industry. Resolution is a global life insurance group focusing on the acquisition and management of portfolios of life insurance policies. John was previously the Chief Financial Officer and Executive Vice President for MetLife. He has held various senior positions in the insurance industry, including as Chief Financial Officer at ING Group and Chief Financial Officer of Arch Capital Group in Bermuda. He spent a number of years at Merrill Lynch and Co. in the investment banking financial institutions group. So I just want us to get right down to this nitty gritty and start with, we're talking today about unlocking the power of AI and transforming the long-term life insurance sector. And so I'm delighted to bring the two of you together to really focus on the long-term life sector. So what are the main ways the global COVID-19 pandemic has transformed the long-term life sector's digital strategies? John, I'm gonna send it to you first.
Well, life insurance has been still quite paper-based in many of its ways it does the business, and face-to-face sales has been the view. COVID has totally changed that entire requirement. With everyone working from home, it's made, of course, face-to-face sales not happening. The paper-based techniques of applications, the processing have been very difficult, both from the customer point of view to the office, but even within the office, moving claim files around or change of address or whatever it has to be. So insurers now are rushing to try to automate and digitize much of their processes throughout the whole chain. And those that were more advanced, particularly on the front end, I think have really seen an advantage through the last 7 months now of the COVID situation. The back ends are still generally still paper-based or manual-based. Those companies that are working on that are going to accelerate all that work. And so there's really the front end, which has been a little more advanced in automation. Those insurers that invested in that are really seeing dividends being paid, but the back end is still the big area for improvement.
Absolutely. Ayata?
So to add to what John said, life insurance sector is underperforming even the S&P, especially during the COVID-19 times, and with the insurance rates being as low as they are. The impact of effectiveness and efficiency is at an all-time high. So in addition to the front-end processes such as distribution, how do you sell life insurance, underwriting and product management, how do you evaluate risk and sell the right product to the right customer? Back-end systems are also coming into prominence, and that could include claims management. How do you effectively handle claims so the customer is happy and there is loyalty, but you don't spend a fortune doing it? And the back-end systems, the legacy policy admin systems, which haven't changed in decades, if not much longer. So all these 4 pillars of insurance are getting the limelight thanks to COVID-19. I can't believe I used thanks and COVID-19 in the same sentence, but
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been said over and over. We're finding the silver lining in this pandemic, and there have been several to find, even though it has been, the worst medical and economic crisis that we've seen in a while. So, Tanu, you touched on some of this, and I want to kind of break it out even more. Let's talk specifically about automation and AI, and talk about specific examples that you're using it in your company, Resolution Life, John Hill.
Sure. So I think it starts with how you think about using artificial intelligence, and by that I mean, deep learning and natural language processing, generation, all that aspect. But how do you approach the problem? And let's take claims or any big process. Many insurers start and apply newer technologies to a piece of the process. But the real power comes when you apply it to the whole domain. And let me give you a simple example. If you said, let's use artificial intelligence to help drivers drive their cars better, assisted driving, that's one problem you're trying to solve. The other approach is to say, no, let's create a driverless car. And the productivity in a driverless car is a multiple of assisted driving. But to approach a driverless car, you need to think through the way you approach it, the type of technologies you need in a very different way. And you won't get the same, it's hard to move from, say, I'm doing a assisted driving project to switch to become a driverless car, because you would need to approach it very differently. And to do that, you need a whole different set of partners. You need to bring in people from outside who have experience in other industries. It's Resolution is partnering with Ayata in this process, and we're hiring our own new people to be part of it. So it's really important to think through and attack the whole domain to really get the productivity.
To add to what John said, Jasmine, so the point solutions have their use. They have been effective across multiple industries, multiple processes. They have their value. But also, as John said, if Google came into insurance, they wouldn't do it how insurance companies have done it for the last 100+ years, right? So there is just when Google came into the car industry, they didn't do it how GM did it, or how Ford did it, or Volkswagen did it, or Toyota did it. So COVID-19 created an opportunity into this holistic reimagination that was not possible before. So before I would look at, I have a headache, I will take an aspirin. I have a stomach problem, I will take a Pepto-Bismol. I didn't look at my overall health and well-being, right? Maybe they are connected. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm doing other things, and these are just the side effects of some of the other things that I'm doing. Maybe it's affecting my longevity, my relationships, all of the others. COVID-19 provided this opportunity of reimagining an entire process. Are we doing everything as we would if we started today? And that is refreshing. That is new. And that, if they work as we both hope, as we all hope that it would be revolutionary. So you have underwriting solutions, you have distribution solutions, you have claims solutions. They are very useful. I am not knocking them because they are very useful, but they are not complete reimagination of the existing processes that have developed over decades and decades. So while they can put lipstick on something that is not as palatable, they cannot fundamentally change the core of those processes. Absolutely. And COVID-19 has provided all of us an opportunity to take a step back and say, hey, had we been doing it for the first time, would we be doing it this way?
Mm-hmm. I love that holistic reimagination. Go ahead, John.
Well, and also the power of the AI today is dramatically better than it was even a few years ago. For example, visual recognition, reading images and understanding what those images are all about, even 3 or 4 years ago was 80%, 75%, which is pretty good, but you can't miss 20% of what you're seeing. Today, it's better than human levels, which is like 96. So the tools and the routines out there today are so different. So we can now read images, we can read reports, translate handwritten documents. We can look at the whole process now and understand it and process it, where a few years ago we couldn't. And I think those firms that understand and attack the whole domain and use these new tools in a productive way will really have an advantage. And that's what we're doing at Resolution.
Absolutely. So your thoughts on buy, building, or acquiring a technology company. What are they, John?
I think you have to do all of those. You have to bring in expertise from outside the industry, because not many in the life sector have ever applied these technologies in such a way. You need to bring in some own people, because you're gonna have to grow them over time. And you might buy a whole firm to do it and bring it in. Often that doesn't work as well, because the most important thing is to change the mindset of the project and of the team and let them understand what is possible. If it's a separate firm over here, that may not change the mindset of the core of the people attacking the problem. And the most important thing now is not the technology. The technology is here and actually works. It's the mindset and the culture to use those technologies in the way that they should be used. And it's different. It really takes time for people to get there.
So if I may piggyback on that, if you unpack AI, right? AI is a loaded phrase. There are many disciplines within AI. And AI is actually not a young man's technology. It's actually an old person's technology, man's life. And it has been around for 50 plus years. And as John said, some of the progresses that have been made over the last decade or so have been quite game-changing and provided business benefits to an industry like insurance that probably wasn't possible before. Let's take a claims process. A claims process for large insurance companies, life, P&C, otherwise, have developed over decades through spreadsheets or glorified spreadsheets, reports, handwritten documents, and people's experience and wisdom. They have operated in silos, and we depended on experienced claims adjusters to make sense of all of them together. So if Jasmine is administering a claim that I'm also administering, that John is also administering, John will get the best result because of 40 years of experience in putting the data together. Jasmine, because of his insurance industry experience, because of our industry, will get the next best result. I will get the worst result. But we are all looking at the same set of information. What artificial intelligence is doing, it's democratizing that process. It can read, it can now write, it can look at information that resides in images, spreadsheets, rows and columns, documents, handwritten documents, bring all of them together to enable the holistic decision-making that is absolutely needed to pay a claim on time to the satisfaction of the policyholder, so he or she continues to do business with insurance companies, but at a cost point, at a time window that is palatable and beneficial to the insurance company. Mm-hmm. So you have multiple stakeholders, and how do you keep all of them going? You cannot do it if you don't look at all the data. You cannot look at all the data with point solutions. You can get the best spreadsheet tool. It won't know what's in a report or what's in a handwritten document. You can get the best handwritten document. You don't know what are in the spreadsheets that evolved over different departments through different acquisitions and different technology providers over the years. You've got to bring all of them together.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's critical when we talk about, I think all of this is such good information. And John, as you talked about mindset shift, let's think about how the shift of mindset of your company wouldn't have really happened as easy if we hadn't had COVID, if we hadn't been all sent home and everyone had to get used to using digital and technology. So half of the job has been done for companies. You know what I mean? We have individuals within companies that would have never done anything online. Everything was written, everything, whereas now they were forced to. So that push and that shift culturally and organizationally has already happened. So I think that's a critical point as to how the two have linked together, not even just so from a process standpoint, but from a culture standpoint.
Totally agree.
So last question, is this staying? Is this shift and this transformation within the long-term life sector, can we see this continuing and revolutionizing the space?
Well, I think with so many aspects of COVID, we're not going to go back to how things were before. from literally this conference, which is now virtual, to how we work in offices. People will not be going back 9 to 5, 5 days a week, commuting in, commuting out. We will still have human interaction. We're going to have some meetings together from time to time, but offices may be more just meeting places, have more conference rooms to come together, to work together. But the being at your desk every day is gone. And I think it's going to have huge implications for a long period of time. And the need for better technology, the need for digitization has never been stronger. And those firms that are there first will really have an advantage, we believe, going forward, because the consumer, the customer demands it. That they have it in every other aspect of their life. They're not going to put up with faxing in a form to change your address.
Oh, God.
It's just not going to happen. And that is going to be, I believe, one of the good things that has come out of this. Out of every crisis, things do change. There are some good aspects to it, and I think better customer service and better ways of working are going to be two of the products that come out of this.
And Atanu?
I'm going to make 2-3 points, maybe not in a proper order. One is, so let's talk about automation and AI first. I think this has been a great time of reflection, right? So we realized in the insurance industry that we have some processes that are repetitious. We do the same 5 or 15 steps over and over again. They never change, and we have always done it that way. Good news is they work if we follow them, so we keep doing them. If those steps haven't changed, and we have always done it that way, a robot can do it, right? A robot can do it. So you have a component of automation that is coming from robotic process automation, is doing the same things the same way, faster, cheaper, better. So you have a bunch of processes in the insurance industry that fit that category. Then you have artificial intelligence, where we talked about making sense of disparate information in disparate formats, arriving at disparate speed and evolving at disparate speed. That has never been possible. That's like, self-driving car, like John talked about. If I can train that car in Austin, Texas, what is going to happen when I take it to Calcutta, India, or Bermuda, for that example, where you drive on the other side of the road. And, so that's the change. So artificial intelligence offers this dynamic evolution that is becoming more relevant. Second topic that John talked about, now consumers and the growth of the industry is going to come from the millennials and Generation Zs, but even people, baby boomers and others, they're using Facebook, they're using Netflix, and more now during COVID times than any other time. So think about their experience. Everything is on fingertips, not even fingertips, even faster than that, right? How would they go back, deal with their insurance company the way they dealt with it pre-COVID? They wouldn't, and they shouldn't, in my humble opinion. So these two fundamental pillars are coming together, and the time of reflection, and the market hasn't been kind, right? The market hasn't been kind. The interest rate have been very low. Insurance companies made money by making great investments in bonds and other safe investment vehicles that are not producing much. So you have no choice but to evolve and improve with or without Ayata or Resolution Life. So we are very grateful for this partnership and everything we learned from Resolution Life. But if I take a step back, and I believe the insurance industry will have to evolve, the reinsurance industry will have to evolve, and COVID just shined a mirror. It just provided a mirror and time. When I look at a mirror over time, I find so many issues. But that's a different topic for a different day. But that's what happened in the insurance industry, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This has been great. I appreciate this conversation, and I think this is so much to be learned and taken away from it. As we look into what is digital transformation in the long-term life sector, you two have laid it out very clearly, and that it's here to stay. And so thank you for your time. And if anyone watching wants to get in touch with me to discuss this topic more, please contact me at www.bda.bam. Thank you, John, and thank you, Atanu.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John. Thank you, Jasmine.